call to order this January 20th, 2015 meeting of the Indian River County Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Rednauer, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number two, election of chairman and vice chairman. Can I have a motion for chairmanship?
I'll take it from there.
You got it,
Thank you very much, Mr. Brignano.
You may have it.
As the commission knows that Mr. Zimmerman is cycled off of planning and zoning, and we need to elect a chairman. That's done at the first meeting of the year for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I would open the floor to nominations for chairman.
I'd like to nominate Alan Plakowich for chairman.
Mr. Plakowich has been nominated. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there a second? Are there any further nominations?
Let Mr. Plakowich quickly say that as the new member on this commission, I'll quickly defer to anybody who would like to be chair.
But would you like to have an open conversation on it? Todd, do you want to lead that? Or?
I can definitely waive it. It's okay.
As far as you're withdrawing your nomination, is that correct?
No, I'm not withdrawing. I'm
Okay.
just saying if there was somebody on the commission who's been here who would like to be chair, please
Very well.
feel free to step in front of me. I'm more than willing to see that happen.
Are there any other nominations? Then I close the floor.
I guess that was pretty clear.
Alan, I believe we've had some conversations, and welcome to the P&Z committee.
To make it official.
This is not a politically ambitious crowd, I can see.
Now, in fairness, I think we've had some conversations with respect to Todd and myself on travel-related commitments and making sure that we are able to allocate the time that's here and being here on a consistent basis. So we have had some conversations, and we think you would serve as a uniquely qualified individual to take on that chair position and lead us as we go forward into 2015 and beyond.
I guess the floor is closed to nominations. All those in favor of Alan Plakowich as chairman signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, that's simple, huh?
Take over, Mr. Chairman. You can elect. You can.
Todd, I'm happy to continue right from here. We don't have to move.
There
It's up
you
to
go.
you. Here, I can move this on over here.
If you would proceed with the vice chairman's election, please, Mr. Plakowich.
Okay.
I'd certainly appreciate it.
So the next item on the agenda would be the selection of a vice chair. We'll open the floor to nominations.
I nominate Todd Brignano.
Okay, do we have a second to that nomination?
I'll second that.
Do we have any additional nominations? Hearing none, we'll close the floor to nominations. All in favor of the nomination of Todd Brignano to vice chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries.
Excuse me, who made the motion and who seconded it?
I'm sorry. Who made the motion and who seconded?
I made it.
It was a motion.
I seconded the
by
motion.
Mr. Rednauer and Mr. Benson second.
Okay. Have you historically had the chair repeat who made the motion and seconded it?
It is.
Yes, we have.
It is
Okay.
very helpful to read it down in the tank here
Yes,
for
who's
that.
got things blocking her vision. Okay, so I'll have to learn your names quickly. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of December 11, 2014. Have you had a chance to review them, and do we have any motion with respect to the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
That was a motion by Mr.
Emmons.
Emmons and a second by Mr. Brignano. Let's see.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on that motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the arbors at Vero Beach. This is a quasi-judicial matter. We'll begin with me reading into the record the matter for discussion today. It is the arbors at Vero Beach, request for conceptual site plan approval for an 80-unit senior affordable housing facility. Arbor Valley Development, LLC, the owner. Knight, McGuire and Associates, Inc., the agent. It's located at 675 15th Place. The zoning is RM10, residential multifamily up to 10 units per acre. Land use designation is M2, medium density 2, residential up to 10 units per acre. The proposed density is 9.99 units per acre, and this is, as I say, a quasi-judicial matter. Because it is quasi-judicial, I'm going to start by asking the commissioners to disclose any ex parte communications, site visits, independent investigations, any experts that you may have consulted, or any other activities that you've undertaken, if any, to familiarize yourself with this project. Have there been any?
No.
No.
I will disclose that I took a site visit and learned nothing other than the physical characteristics of the project site. Does anybody have any conflict, bias, prejudice, anything else that would prevent you from making an honest decision based on the facts and the evidence?
No.
No.
If not, let's go ahead and we will open the quasi-judicial hearing. Madam Clerk, would you please swear any witnesses? And I would ask anybody who intends to testify on this matter to please stand and be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, we'll begin with a presentation by the county.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Tonight we have before you a request for conceptual site plan approval for an 80-unit multifamily project. The project is proposed to be a senior affordable housing project. The subject site is located at the southwest corner of 6th Avenue and 15th Place and is zoned RM10. The project site aerial depicts the current conditions and does show the existing conditions, which include 3 one-story structures which are comprised of 10 multifamily units and a small property management office. Those structures are proposed to be removed in conjunction with the development of this project. The conceptual site plan here, a depiction of the conceptual site plan, shows 3 two-story multifamily buildings. The building in the northeast corner has a small administrative office. There's also a proposed community center with pool, community garden, a dry retention area, and a wet stormwater pond. Tonight is a request for conceptual site plan approval. It doesn't vest any building rights per se, and it does not authorize construction. At some point in the future, the applicant will need to secure final site plan approval, and because this is a residential multifamily project, it would require final approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. There are a number of dedications and improvements that have been identified at the conceptual level, including improvements to 15th Place, which would involve widening 15th Place and constructing it to county minimum standards, as well as internal sidewalks throughout the project and external sidewalks along 6th Ave and 15th Place. It's also important to note that a final traffic impact study may identify any additional improvements at such time when that's submitted. That being said, staff's recommendation is that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve the conceptual site plan with conditions stated in the staff report related to the provision of a final traffic impact study at such time of final site plan and widening of 15th Place to a minimum of 30 feet and constructed to county minimum standards. Thank you.
Any members of the commission have any questions of the county?
Was proper notice sent out to the adjacent properties regarding this project?
This is not a special exception, so there was no,
Well,
no notice
I know, but
requirement.
usually you guys do send out some type of notice. Of
We
what's going to be going
don't
on,
send,
don't you?
we don't send out a notice unless we do have instances sometimes where a property owner asks us as a courtesy to send them a notice if there's a proposal, and we've had none of that.
Okay.
But there is a posting of a sign on the property to advise them of the meeting.
And anybody has called and complained or anything like that at this point?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Bragnano, I did receive one sort of very casual inquiry, and they didn't seem as if they were for or against the project, just merely asking about what
Thank
the
you. It
proposal
was just a curiosity.
Two questions. One is that for the widening of 15th Place, is there
plenty of room to do that, to widen it out?
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Day, yeah, there is sufficient right-of-way. Based on the preliminary traffic impact study or traffic information that was provided, there did not seem to be any need for additional right-of-way acquisition, but the improvements themselves have been identified as something that would be sought after during final site plan approval.
Okay, and my second question is that area of 6th Avenue, 15th Place, 15th Street, is a place that historically has had a real problem with flooding. Is there anything special in this project that's going to help reduce that?
Stan, do you want to jump in? Or?
I think what we can say is based on the requirements of the county and the review, it won't make it worse. But I don't think that they'll be taking on or designing to take on drainage from 6th Avenue itself.
Any other questions from the members? I do have a couple of quick questions. This is, we'll call this the contribution to the education of Blackwood here, but the fact that it's an affordable housing project, I saw that we have a policy that says we expedite applications for affordable, I guess, senior housing. Is there any other significance to the process that it is affordable?
No, they're going through the same process as if this were multifamily. Conceptual site plan is open actually to commercial, industrial, or multifamily, and we've had a few conceptual plans come through. It's a permitted use. The only difference, because it is affordable housing, we do have a policy to expedite the review, and this review has been expedited really to the credit of the Planning and Zoning Commission members by being flexible and staff and the applicant. That's the only difference.
How do you define affordable?
Right.
Out of curiosity, is there a definition of it?
Well, there is, and it depends on the program. In this case, it's quite easy because they're applying for a tax credit type of affordable housing. So they not only meet the county requirements in terms of meeting the income levels for rental, that's based on average income for the county, but also state levels as well. And in one of the reasons for expediting is to apply for a state program, which will not only have county requirements, have a lot of ongoing state requirements to meet.
Okay. My second question was back to that expansion of 15th Place. Is that an expansion from the center line on either sides, or is it an expansion over onto the applicant's property?
Well, I mean, that actual layout will be looked at with the final site plan itself. It may or may not configure from the center line or not. I believe there is sufficient right-of-way, as Ryan was saying, for it to be within the boundaries of the right-of-way. Whether it's skewed one way or the other, we'll just have to see what the final design is.
Okay. Anything else? Is the applicant here? Like to put on a presentation? Okay. Please state your full name and your position.
My name is David Knight with Knight McGuire & Associates, here representing the Arbors.
And your address, please?
Address is 80 Royal Palm Point, Vero Beach. First, I'd like to say thank the staff for their expediting of this project. This was not just simply speeding up a site plan project. This was extremely speeded up. I think we came in, seems like 2 weeks ago, for the first time they saw it, and we rushed through the process. And Ryan, Stan, John, they were exemplary, absolutely. So we appreciate that, and certainly we're happy with the recommendations that came forward. We've got the developer, the landowner, the architect, traffic engineer, so if there's any other questions, we'll be glad to answer that. We don't have any great presentation. I think staff's done all the nuts and bolts of this project, so we're here for any questions you might have.
Any members of the Commission have questions of the applicant? If not, thank you very much.
I just have one question, please, Mr. McGuire, and maybe somebody else. Would this be qualified for Section 8 housing?
That wouldn't be me.
That wouldn't be you.
Steve, maybe? Yeah.
Quickly defer.
I'm not even old enough to live here.
For the record, Steve Lowitz. I reside in Hollywood, Florida. My actual address is 3521 North 53rd Avenue in Hollywood. The The income levels that we go after will be 60% of the median income. In order to, it's a point system that you're scored on when you submit an application for funding. So we will set aside 10% of the units, roughly, well, it'd be 6 units, for those that would be, I believe, at 40%. I'd have to look back at the application requirement for this county. I want to emphasize that this is for older persons. We'll make the application under the state requirement is 55 and older. The federal requirement is 62 and older. So there's a little bit of a difference on the two. With regard to Section 8, could we take Section 8? The answer is yes, we could. It's really not Section 8, I think, that you're questioning maybe. It's the voucher. It's called Housing Choice.
Correct.
And we do, because it's the right thing to do, work with the local housing authority. One of my personal passions is the veterans, the veteran community. There are vouchers that are known as VASH, which is for special housing. Another passion is to take in those veterans or others that have special needs that we can house. We can't house everybody because you have to have programs for that. So in light of what we're doing is providing beautiful first quality housing to those that are having a hard time affording quality housing. One thing that we will not accept, if you've got bad credit, if you've got a criminal background, you will not be housed in any of our communities. I hope that.
And thank you for addressing that. I mean, because the housing, the vouchers that you spoke of, because of the demographic of Indian River County, the first priority is the elderly retiree as far as availability for those vouchers. That's set in our comprehensive plan. The second one that our housing authority dictates is indeed the veterans. So, I'm very pleased to hear that this housing will be geared specifically for them.
Thank you. And this is my 63rd year in life. I can't believe that, but I'm qualified to be able to live here. And I take that as another passion to make sure that we do everything that we can afford to do. And we do a nice job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions, further questions from the Commission? Okay. Any member of the public like to speak on this? Seeing none, any further either presentation or argument from the county or from the applicant? If not, we'll just clarify that the record, in addition to the testimony, does include the agenda package and the PowerPoint presentation. And with that, we'll go ahead and close the hearing. Gentlemen, your preference?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We got a motion by Mr. Bergnano and a second by, was it Mr. Day down there? Okay, by Mr. Day. To approve, and I assume that's the approval as recommended with the condition?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Which brings us to the next item on the agenda. We have no commission matters. We have a planning matter, which is planning information package. Mr. Bowling?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I was going to introduce Mr. Plaquich if you didn't know him already. So welcome aboard and congratulations. So welcome. And just one thing I did want to follow up on, getting back to the application that you all saw. I really did want to, kind of congratulate staff, not just planning staff, John and Ryan work, but public works, engineering, traffic, utilities, fire, Department of Health. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Wow. From the time they submitted the application, went through technical review committee, all the standard reviews, and a lot of it was because it was a conceptual site plan. More details later, but went through all the checklists and everything. It happened to line up right in terms of getting to a TRC that wasn't loaded up with other projects. But staff I think they really stepped up in all the departments. And, of course, the applicant, too, turned right around on things. So it was almost, in a good way, a perfect storm at 3 weeks. So don't expect that. I hope that doesn't become the bar for incentivized projects. But I actually did not, at the end of December, I did not think it was really possible. But I think everybody pulled together on that. And there's a reason we offer an incentive, because we want affordable housing. Yeah. So I think staff and all the departments did a great job. Just a couple of other things. Because it was a quick turnaround for you all, and thank you all very much for your flexibility to meet on a Tuesday instead of Thursday so they can meet their grant application deadline. We also emailed to you the packet as well as the hand delivery. Would you like to get both? Would you like to get, does email help as well? Does it help to have that? Because it's not an issue for us, so we'll make that standard practice, as well as delivering you the hard copy, which has larger print and so forth. We'll also send you an email packet. That way you've got it in both ways. One other thing, as far as meetings go, we would normally have a meeting on February 12th. We think we will have no items that have to be on the 12th, so we'll be looking to cancel that, but we will certainly have a meeting on February 26th. We'll have at least one public hearing and probably a few other projects as well. Wanted to let you all know that. Also, since your last meeting, two of the projects you all made recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on. One was the Hampton Woods East project that went this morning to the Board of County Commissioners. You might recall that staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended a 25-foot wide tree preservation buffer instead of the 15-foot wide buffer. The applicant, after your recommendation, decided to go along with that recommendation, so they changed their plans, and the board approved it with the conditions, including a 25-foot tree preservation buffer. Also, last week, the Board of County Commissioners approved the Full Gospel special exception, the church off of Old Dixie Highway. One, I think, big factual change to kind of help things along from when you all saw it was that the church did work out overflow parking with an adjacent commercial property owner, and in fact the Board of County Commissioners put in a condition that they meet Public Works requirements for a crosswalk, if that would help people, getting to the church. So they're on notice of having to accommodate overflow parking if their parking demand requires it. So that was approved by the board, consistent with your recommendation. And those are the updates that I had. Good work, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You did include in the package the various, South Florida construction, things like that. Any comments on that or questions concerning those materials from the Commission? If not, we'll consider that agenda item done. I would ask if we could add, not to this meeting, but in the future, an item on the agenda after we've called the meeting to order and done the pledge about additions or deletions to the agenda. I know it gives us a little bit more flexibility to at least have that there. Anybody have a problem with that issue?
Nope, that's a good suggestion to me.
Otherwise, any attorney matters?
Right away, your first meeting, you start making changes right away. You can't.
Point of order.
No, Mr. Chairman. I had no matters.
I'm glad these two are apart.
Okay, anything else then to come before the Commission tonight?
Want to move down?
If not, thank you very much. Meeting's
Thanks,
adjourned.
Alan.